Belladonna, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate you taking the time to have a conversation with me. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Hi, Tom. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. So my formal title is Lady Belladonna LaVeau. I'm the Archpriestess of the Aquarian Tabernacle Church, which is an international world organization. I live at the world headquarters in Index, Washington, which is paradise, but we don't get really good mail service and internet, but that's paradise for you. I think that's on purpose and by design. I built a college. We have a group exemption. We have the same kind of legal exemption as the Vatican and the Mormons. So we have the ability to create subsidiary organizations and affiliated churches around the United States and the world, although sometimes governments in other countries are more difficult to deal with because of their laws. But we have the fourth largest scouting group in the United States. We have the only state recognized legal college of Wiccan ministry. And let's see. Yeah, that's pretty much it. We have charities and do all of the things that churches do, only we're Wiccan and pagan in nature, earth-based.
Awesome. That's actually really cool because I'd like to start a church, like a secular kind of a church in a similar way. So if you guys how did you do that? How did you build that? What is the process? Do you have like a guide to help other church organizations start something similar?
Well, we don't, because once we did it, it was a 4-year fight. In 1979, our founder, Pete Davis, was raised by a lawyer. And so he kind of learned law at the dinner table, and so he was an activist, and he realized that we just really didn't have the same legal representation as Christian churches. So he created the church and went to get a 501c3 legal, tax exempt, and it didn't work. Like, they wouldn't give it to him. And they would ask questions, and he would send back the same forms that had the answers to the questions on them, and photocopies of photocopies to where you couldn't really even read them anymore. That was before we had 1979 was before the internet,
Yeah.
And so sorry. And so finally he was dogged. Like, the tenacity of this man was ridiculous. He wouldn't let it go. So he kept sending stuff in. We have 4 big 4-inch 3-ring binders of documents that he sent to the IRS. He finally got the 501c3 exemption, and he noticed that the name was an Indian name. And so he went ahead and applied for the group exemption and got that too, which was like unheard of. And then they changed all the laws after that. And I've had people tell me that they've looked into it, and their lawyers told them that it would be millions of dollars to get a group exemption again. And I've been in legal battles where the lawyer was like, "You have a Soul Corp and a group exemption? Let me see it." And then I pull them out, and they're like, "Wow." They all drool over the paperwork and make copies of it and show their colleagues and stuff, because it's so rare. People just don't have it. So, yeah, but yeah, I'd be happy to share any information I have, but I didn't actually get it. Our organization is 40 years old.
Oh, that's so cool. Cause yeah, I've been trying to do that too. And it is quite the process to try to get tax exemption. So yeah, if you could forward me that information, I'd really appreciate it. Cause I'm trying to work with several lawyers on trying to get this process of starting a secular church. Our goal is to build like affordable housing for people so that they can afford rent and not have it go up on a regular basis because people just own lots of property. There's a similar organization here in Minnesota called the NOAA Impact Fund, the Naturally Occurring Affordable Housing. And what they do is they purchase apartment buildings and offer them at a set rent price so that the rent doesn't keep going up for people, which is really cool.
That is really cool. Yeah, I would be happy to help you in any way I could.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
so tell
I think
me more
that's
about
a noble cause. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. So tell me more about the Wiccan Church and your organization.
So what we do, we're more of a facilitating body than a governing body. We provide opportunities for people to do good in the world, So like food banks and things, just like you're talking about. Church creates culture in our world. And so what we're trying to do is create earth-centered culture where people live in harmony with the planet instead of feeling like they rule the planet and they can just make a big mess here because they're not coming back. We focus more on earth-centered, earth stewardship kind of things and taking care of each other, and it's less about um profits and more about people and the quality of life and those kinds of things. So we facilitate people's goals and dreams to help bring about a better planet, better world, better culture.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's what churches should be. Most of the Christian churches don't really do that. They have other alternative methods and goals. And if more churches were kind of like the secular organization of what I'm going for and what you're doing, the world would be a much better place.
Agreed, 100%.
So tell me more about like Wiccan in general. Like for me, I'm a skeptic. I don't really believe in anything supernatural of any kind. Could you tell me what it is that you believe in and what got you to that belief?
I sure will. And I tell you, it's fun to watch you because you're very fast with these Christian ministers. And it's really fun to watch how quick your mind is and how you debunk the faith-based
Arguments,
mythologies. Yeah. I'm trying to find a pleasant word, but yeah. So Wicca is basically a framework to help you find your connection to spirit. We believe that everybody is inherently connected with the spiritual world, like it's the fifth element. Like you have earth, air, fire, and water, and then spirit, and everything is made up of a compilation of these elements. And that Wicca is just it's kind of like the cubicle in your office. You've got a chair and a desk and a computer, and you hook into the Wi-Fi and the electricity, and then what you do with the sky's the limit, right? So Wicca is the framework that allows you to connect with spirit. It's a very experiential religion. We move from faith to knowing. Like we believe things will happen. So like when people pray or they cast spells, they believe it's going to happen. But then when they see it happen, it's knowing, right? When you talk to God or goddess, we believe in a God and a goddess. When you talk to them, it's prayer. But when they talk back to you, then it's hard to deny the existence of that. And so we facilitate a relationship with God and goddess that is real and you can't touch it, but you know it because you've experienced it.
Awesome.
Right?
And how would somebody like me be able to contact them and hear from them? How would someone who's a skeptic be able to interact with the gods?
Well, Tom, I hate to quote the Bible at you, but I was raised Mormon, and I was a champion scripture chaser. And so one of my favorite scriptures is "Knock and the door shall be open to you." If you ask God to reveal themselves to you, then they will. I find that when I prayed to God as a Mormon child, I didn't really get an interaction out of it, right? I felt like, I don't know, maybe there's too many people praying to God and he's busy. I don't know. But when I pray to the goddess, she answers me, right? So it's just a matter of suspending your disbelief and reaching out and waiting to see if there's an answer. Because like if you have a conversation with somebody and you're like, speaking at them, speaking at them, speaking at them, and then when you're done speaking at them, you just get up and walk away. Like most prayer, that's what it is. Dear God, help me find my shoes. Amen. You walk away, right? Then there's no interaction. But meditation allows you to sit and listen, and you have to go through the process of getting your mind out of the way, because there's this part of your mind called the chatterer. If you've ever just sat and tried to turn your mind off, it'll just start talking at you, right? Like bills and just nonsense stuff. Sometimes things that happened when you were a kid and whatever. You have to go through a process of getting that out of the way and being able to just witness the silence and sitting in open-hearted space where you can listen, and then you'll get information that sometimes it feels like it's you, and then if you like, I don't know, I've written stuff down where it's like weird stuff, and then all of a sudden it starts being really powerful things that you need to hear, that spirit, and it's different. You feel it's different. You can feel the connection. And I believe that God speaks to everybody. And like I say God, but I mean the gods. There's like, I believe that there's this one big force of nature that we all exist within. And then there's these different kind of like channels on a radio. There's different faces of it that appeal to people in the way that they need. Like God and Goddess is big enough to speak to everybody on the level that they need to be spoken to on, right? And so when you just open up and reach out and, like I said, suspend your disbelief and allow it to happen, it happens.
Do they do more than just talk? Can they actually help you find your shoes? Is the example you used. Yeah. I like that one.
Yeah. Well, it's like really big, important things, but also like little bitty things. Like I was doing something the other day, and I got this image that my bra was gonna break, and I was like, I've never had that happen with these new bras that I'm wearing, in my mind, right? And by the end of the day, I was about to go out on stage, and a lady pointed at my chest, and my bra had come apart, and I was like, oh gosh, I knew this was gonna, they told me this was gonna happen this morning. I should have listened. Sometimes because we're humans, we don't listen. We argue with our intuition. But I'm a professional psychic. I've been a spiritual counselor for 30 years, and people call me and ask me silly things like, when's my boyfriend gonna call me again? But all the way to very existential things, and I get messages from spirit that I can tell them, and I don't know, but spirit knows, and I can convey that to them, and it helps them, and it makes a difference in their lives. And they call me back and say, oh my God, what you told me was true. They call me.
Could you do that for me? So, for example, my goal in life is right now to meet a very attractive girlfriend. That is my current goal. So, could you tell me, like, give me a sign of like what would happen in the future? Because that would be great for the people on my side. We like novel testable predictions. That's like our evidence form of confirmation of what we think is a good way to differentiate something real from imaginary. That's the thing I use in all my Christian debates. So, when will I find my Instagram model girlfriend? That'd be great.
Your Instagram model girlfriend. When will Tom find her? Are you sure you hadn't already met her?
Well, I dated one and then I got dumped, so I need another one.
Okay. Tom, it's going to be real soon. It's going to be real soon. Maybe the fact that you've just put that out into the universe on your show, somebody's going to go, well, I would like to date Tom, but I'm getting like days, like 3 days. And
that would be awesome. Like, if that happens, I'll definitely come on the show and be like, this is 100% evidence for Wicca. Definitely happened. Complete evidence. You're like, yep.
Yeah, I'm getting 3 days. I've gotten awesome. 3 days 3 times. Yeah, so that'd be exciting. I would love that for you. That would make me really happy.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Especially happy. It'd be like life changing for me. So.
Yeah, well, she's out there. You're right on top of it. You keep asking for that. That's going to come true.
So you said you were brought up Mormon. How did you transition from Mormonism into Wicca?
Well, you know, interestingly enough, I have thought many times that Mormonism and Wicca are not that far apart. Mormonism is like Wicca with patriarchy. It was created like 100 years before Wicca emerged on the scene, and I'm like, maybe it was just too early. Maybe they just put it out there too early. But it's very similar in the sense that every man holds the priesthood and for his family, but in Wicca, everybody is capable of holding the priesthood if they study and want to. It's just they have polygamy, we have polyamory. It's very similar in a lot of ways, but um, Mormonism was very oppressive, is very oppressive to women. And growing up in a Mormon household, my job was to learn how to cook and sew and clean and uh, be a good mom and have babies and keep the house. And I mean, as important of a job as that is, I really just think that raising children is a dual role. It's not just a woman's role. Like, it takes two parents to really raise healthy children. And also, I'm really smart and I don't want to just sit around the house and clean. And, I do know how to sew and knit and crochet. And I sewed a teepee one time from a diagram because I wanted to have one. And um, I chafed against the sit down and shut up because you're a girl model, right? My daddy fought. I didn't like it. And I did all of the things. I was very spiritual. The first time God talked to me, I was 5 years old. And so I've always known that God and Goddess existed. I knew that spirit was paying attention to me and would help me. Like, I had this thing happen when I was 12 where I made the wind blow, or the wind blew for me. Either, I don't know which one, but I was like burning this big thing of brush that I couldn't imagine setting on fire right now as an adult. But my daddy was like, burn all of this stuff in the backyard, and here's a hose, don't burn the house down. Okay. And so I didn't want to be out there watching it burn, right? It was huge. It was like 17 times bigger than me. And so I'm standing there looking at it and I'm like, how can I make this burn faster? And the wind blew behind me and it made the fire burn faster. And I was like, oh, did you do that for me? And the wind blew again and made the fire burn faster. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that because I was 12. And so by the time my daddy caught me, I was, 12 years old. I'm back. I've got my back to the fire going, Mr. Wind, blow. And then I'm like getting the wind, and the wind is just gusting and burning the fire. It was so much fun. And then I hear Donna, because that's my given name. And I was like, uh-oh, my daddy's looking out the window. And he's like, are you playing with the wind? I said, yes, sir. And he said, I can do that too. Don't let anybody know you can do that. And I was like, oh, okay. But I knew that spirit existed, and I knew that we had magic within us. And you couldn't talk me out of it. You just couldn't talk me out of it. I had too many things that happened like that, like where God spoke to me or Goddess spoke to me and told me things, directed me to do things, helped me in certain ways. And so when I was sitting in Mormon church one day, and one of the quorum of the 70 was speaking, and he said, I was like 17, 18, maybe even 19. And he said that we were not appreciative of enough of the scripture. And until we studied the scripture more, we were not going to get more information. And that the information that we had was like a thimble of water compared to all of the water on the earth. And that we needed to be more diligent in reading our scriptures so that we could get this more information. And I looked around at the people in church, and like every one of these people had like 17 kids, and there were more children than adults in the room. And it was just a cacophony of kids playing, and you could barely hear the man speak over all of the families doing their family things in the pews. And I was like, there's more information out there and we don't have it. That's what I heard. There's more information out there and we don't have it. And so when I left church that day, I made it a mission to go find the rest of the information. And I read every book that I could find, and it led me to healing, and then it led me to witchcraft. And I just knew that that was the answer. Like I didn't want to be kept in the box that Mormonism had created for me. And I just became really, I read books for 10 years, like all of the time. That's what I would do, is just read books. And it opened my mind, and it opened the possibilities, and it allowed me to move beyond where I was. It gave me wings, so to speak. It helped me find who I truly was or am. And now I'm the archpriestess of the biggest church in the world.
Awesome. You mentioned the form of the 70. What is that?
The quorum of the 70 is, there's the prophet, and then there's the 12 apostles, and then the quorum of the 70. So they're like third from the top in Mormon structure.
Oh, gotcha. So how long have you been doing this? What age was it when you transitioned from Mormonism to Wicca?
I was 20 when I was initiated into Wicca.
And you mentioned there are many different gods, many different kinds of gods, or just two?
No, there's so many gods. There's well, we believe in all the gods. We believe that if you're praying to a god, then they exist. Like, we believe in all of them. Jesus and Shiva and Dionysus and all of them. So I have no idea how many gods there are. In Wicca, you kind of, like I said, it's like asking how many software packages are out there.
Where do they exist? Is it like, do they exist in the same universe, in a different universe kind of a thing? Or
that's a really good question. That's a really good question. So there are sky gods, land deities, and ancestral deities. And so sky gods, sky deities are planetary. You know how the Romans named all the planets after gods?
Yep, Venus, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter.
Yeah. So that is so we believe that the deities all have a home, and that sky deities rest on planets, and that land deities, like the well, Bridget's Well, or in Washington, we have this amazing land deity. Her name is Tahoma, but her current name, her white people's name is Mount Rainier. The Indians call her Tahoma. And she has this legend where she disappears. Like, it'll be a beautiful blue sky day, no clouds, and the mountain will either be there or it won't be there. And there could be clouds in the sky, and the mountain will either be there or not be there. She's actually a disappearing mountain. It's quite an awesome phenomenon. There's a Facebook page that says, "Is the mountain out today?" And it's pretty cool. And then there are ancestral deities, people who have done something that are collected enough legend that people still refer to their stories, and they become deified over time. Like Marie LaVeau is actually a Loa in Yoruba, but she has become so powerful that she's an ancestral deity.
Are there any evil deities or bad deities that'll hurt you, or mischievous ones like Loki from the Norse mythologies?
There's trickster gods for sure, because some people can't learn any other way. They have to be tricked into learning their lessons. but we don't believe in an inherent evil like the devil. We don't believe in we believe in the balance. So like the lion has to eat, but it sure does look evil when a lion kills something to eat it to us because we're removed from that reality. But if the lion doesn't kill the gazelle, the lion will starve and die and we won't have lions anymore. And if the lion doesn't eat the gazelle, then the gazelles will overrun the planet and then they will die of starvation. There's a balance, right? And so if you do good things, we believe very simply, like it's more complex than this, but simply put, we believe if you do good things in the world, then good things come back to you. And if you do bad things in the world, bad things come back to you. And that is what you have naturally drawn to yourself. We don't believe that there's just things out there trying to hurt you or steal your soul and take you to hell and stuff like that. We believe in reincarnation. We don't believe in eternal salvation or eternal damnation. It's more cyclical than that. Because you go to sleep, you wake up in the morning, you live your day, you go to sleep again, you wake up in the morning. We believe that life is kind of the same cycle. You're born, you live your life, you die, you have a resting phase, and then you do it again. And that this is part of the soul's evolution. And it's microcosmic and macrocosmic. Some scientists believe that Egyptian history is a microcosm of human history. Have you heard that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think like there's the thing that history repeats itself, and so that there are certain things that happen repeatedly in history that happen both on the short term and the long term, and that there's parallels in those.
Yeah, exactly. And so we believe that if you do good things in the world, it doesn't stop you from having challenges. But challenges are not designed to destroy you. They're designed to strengthen you. Like when you go to the gym and you pick up weights and you work out and stuff like that. So that is to make you stronger. So when a challenge happens and you're up to meet the challenge and you overcome it, then you're stronger. Like I've learned so many things. A lot of them were very painful lessons, and you have to just be up for the challenge instead of, oh God, the devil's out to get me, this terrible thing happened. No, you are experiencing the human condition. Get yourself together and deal with your life.
What about like really extreme cases like children with cancer who are terminally ill? Because from my perspective, we see the world as really bad. It's mostly out to kill us. Like 99% of the world or the universe is uninhabitable life. Like if we went into space, we'd instantly die. Under the ocean, instantly die. Next to a sun, instantly die. So it seems like most of the universe is out to kill us. And so from my perspective, I would think if there were gods, they would try to shape the world to make it better for living things as much as possible, rather than mostly out to kill us.
Yeah, they do, but the human factor, I mean, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you're doing everything in the world to make the relationship good and they're just using you up, then there's not a whole lot you can do, right? I mean, we, for the most part, treat gods like maids. Oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. God, get me out of this problem now. It's not, it's not something that we're like, we don't revere. Most of the time, most of us do not revere spirit. We find ourselves in a mess and then we're like, oh God, if you let me live through this, I'll never drink another drop or whatever, and then they're out drinking the next night. Children getting cancer, it's terrible what happens, but we don't eat the right foods. We don't feed our people the good stuff. Like my husband makes this awesome joke. He's like, white sugar is terrible for you. White sugar was the poster on the wall for heroin when it was growing up. One day I'll be in children's cereal, like we feed our children junk. And we as a society have the ability to scientifically understand what we need to eat and how we need to live, but there's this thing called money, and that's more important than anything else in a capitalist society. So if feeding you white sugar and grain is going to make the people with money, they're going to put that on the market. And if you try to feed your kids eggs and they don't want to eat them, and then you get them to eat Fruit Loops, and that's just the easier choice. And then we reap the rewards for those behaviors. There are, I don't know if you ever watched the movie The Magic Pill.
I think so, a long time ago.
It's a documentary. I don't know how long it's been out, but it's a documentary about how people don't want to eat better. They just want a pill. Can you just give me a pill to fix this? And there was an Australian doctor who they tried to take his license away because he said the problem with diabetes, cancer, and autism, the epidemic of these things in our lives is directly correlated to the fact that we eat sugar and wheat. And the movie's fascinating. He talks about the Aborigines and how they basically had no disease until they met white men, and now they eat biscuits and jelly, and they have diabetes and cancer, and they used to die of old age and crocodile bites, and now they die of sugar, diabetes and stuff like that. So feels like I'm getting the light again on me, but yeah. It's my natural glow, Tom. I don't know what to say. Yeah, we're sitting in the shade and everything, so I don't know where.
I think it's just like a reflection off of the dashboard, probably like a reflection off of the glass right above you in like the windscreen.
Okay, well, let me see if I can put something on. Oh, there we go. There we go. That's so much better. Thank you, Dusty. So it talks about how so what I was saying is when you take wheat and sugar and you put it in water and you let it sit at a warm temperature, what happens?
It becomes alcohol.
Fermentation, right? And so when you put this in your body, what do you think happens? Fermentation. So they have cures for cancer. I know people that have cured cancer, and not with chemotherapy and stuff like that, but with diet. But it's a lot more lucrative to radiate somebody and put them through cancer treatments and sell them insulin and all the other things. So we are set up in our society to make the best decisions for humans. We're set up in our society to make the best decisions for profit. And so as long as we choose that as our guiding light, we're going to have major problems with kids getting cancer and, the terrible things that happen in the world. I mean, there's some real big problems in the world, and a lot of it is because we're more concerned with making money than anything else, cutting down the rainforest. The planet has COPD, we have climate change, all of that kind of stuff. Climate change isn't real. Well, I mean, just look around, you guys. Come on. The polar ice caps are melting. But we will deal with the balance. The balance will exert itself, and it will be different challenges. If the bees die, we'll find different foods to eat. Humans are very flexible and adaptable. So we will figure out a way to survive no matter what happens, but it will be, there have been more than one time when humans had huge civilizations and then they went down to just a few people without any technology. And that is a cycle that continues to repeat itself. And I hope that we find a way to learn to live with spirit and each other and the planet that brings about a harmony and balance, because we're supposed to be healthy. We're not supposed to be sick. We're not supposed to be struggling, where there's enough for everybody, there's enough food for everybody, there's enough space for everybody, until you get a few people hoarding all of the resources and then leaving the rest of us to fight over a little bitty portion. Then it feels like there's not enough for everybody. Then people get desperate and they do desperate things like, steal and kill and cheat and lie, and all of those things are born out of desperation. I don't believe that people are inherently evil, but I believe that when they are put in unnatural situations where they are challenged beyond their ability to deal, and the way the world is right now, this happens to a lot of people, then they do things that they regret and would not choose to do. But I would tell you right now, I'm a mother of three. If I didn't have the money to pay my babies, to feed my babies, there is no telling what I would do to take care of those children,
What about for people in before, like America, before we were focused on money? It seemed like people were still dying of all kinds of disease and things just because it's like disease is like just a natural part of the world. It seems like as we go on with technology, people get more healthy over time. But if we look at the past, it seems like the world was still out to get us. People were dying of childbirth, naturally occurring childbirth. It's not like they had modern medicine to help them. People were dying of starvation and thirst. Like you mentioned, wheat and sugar, and those have helped the planet go from a population of less than 1 billion to 8 billion almost now. And so it seems like as humanity, even though we focus on money, we are building these like technologies to improve humanity, to improve our lives as much as possible. And that in the past, when we were closer to nature, we died a lot more. It was a lot more of a struggle for humanity.
Sorry. I'm trying to get the light to not be on me. So
that's all right.
Okay. Well, I think that the struggle, like I said, I think the struggle makes us stronger. But when you have death and childbirth, well, then we figure out better ways to deliver babies. When there was this situation, I don't remember which war it was, but there were so many wounded that they had to get midwives to come in and help with all of the wounded. We had to get midwives. And so the midwives were working on people, and their success rate in healing was way higher than the doctors. And they couldn't figure out why. And what they discovered is that the midwives were washing their hands between patients and the doctors were not. So, technology definitely moves us forward, but like I said, we had technology. We had technology, and then we lost it. Like with Atlantis, some people think Atlantis was a myth. I don't think it was. And then we had all of these flying machines and whatever that they say Atlantis, and then Atlantis fell. Well, they wonder how Atlantis fell. What happened? They knew that something was going to happen. They had all that technology, and why didn't they know that they were going to destroy their world if they didn't behave differently? Well, they did, but we're sitting here looking at how we know that we're destroying the planet with what we're doing, but look what's happening. People don't want to do anything different. They don't want to live any different. They don't want to change. That's good. Okay, that's good. They don't want to change what they're doing. They don't want to change their lifestyle. They don't want to change how they're making money. We have green technology options. The gas companies don't want us to do that. They put out propaganda. They put out misinformation. The people that have control the people that don't have. And they, lie, steal, cheat, do whatever they can do to maintain their status quo, even though they know that it's not good for our future, but they're not going to be here, so they don't care. The challenges of the world are complex. And yeah, we've always had struggles, and we're always going to have struggles. Our struggles are going to be different. Like now, it's a struggle to get off the internet. you know, Back in what you said, the 1800s or whatever, back in time, people have died of thirst, they've died of starvation. Well, there are schools of thought that say that you know you if you don't have water, you can't drink. You don't have water. But there are different ways of utilizing your resources that allow you to find water if you know where to find it. There are people that live in the desert, they don't have any problem finding water because they know where to find it at. Ignorance causes a lot of our own, we create our own problems with our ignorance. And we find knowledge, like knowledge is power. So if I hoard all of my knowledge and I don't share it with you, then I have more power. When actually, when you share knowledge, you create more power by helping other people. You create more power. But if you don't look at it that way, you don't see it that way, then that's not your reality. That's not your paradigm. So I think a lot of it is ignorance. We've got an amazing amount of technology right now, and there's still so much information. When in the age of information, misinformation is a big weapon, isn't it?
For sure. From my perspective and the perspective of many secular people, we think that we can get to a world where there isn't really as much suffering as there is today. Like, we think that once we get artificial intelligence, that's going to be really cool, and it's going to help us solve a lot of the problems we have. We're going to be at the point where we have enough food to feed everybody, and we're going to have enough water to feed everybody, and we're not going to have the same level of suffering or cancer or disease. And it seems like all of those are solvable problems, that we can get to a much better world than we are today. And if there were gods, I would think that they would have helped us to get there a lot faster. They wouldn't have left us on these challenges on our own, and would have helped us to be able to achieve these much earlier in time, instead of forcing us to go through all these really big challenges like world wars and droughts and comets and all these kinds of things that kill millions of people that I don't think we have control over. It seems like if there were gods, I think they would have been able to help us solve a lot of these problems much sooner if there were like really perfect moral gods or whatever.
So, the thing about it is that people don't all believe the same way, though, and the changes of the interactions of people sharing their beliefs and finding humility to listen to other people, like that's a higher level skill. Not everybody has the ability to set aside their ego and look at the possibility that maybe they're wrong. But again, you're not talking about God. God can't do anything about this politician is he's got cancer now and he's about to die, so, and it's messed up his brain, and he has the power to now attack these people, and he's all paranoid because he's getting older and he's about to die, and he's seeing, I don't know, seeing the barn. Like, wars happen because of men, not God. And could God come down and say, "Whoa, stop the war," hooty guru moment? Could, but would they be listened to? Because there are times when Goddess has asked me to do something. Goddess wants me to get up at 4 o'clock every morning and walk up to her shrine and sit there with her and pray. Well, I'm going to tell you, I got this physical body, and I can't drag my butt out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, no matter how strong my faith is. And I wish I could. Like, I just wish I could. But she wants me to be up when the plants wake up so that I can feel the earth waking up, and I just can't do it. So I think that there are some times when I'm like, I'm gonna do it eventually. I'll get old enough to where I can wake up early in the morning. My grandparents did it. I saw it happen. But and I don't give up on trying to do that. But at the same time, The quantum field is being affected by everyone, and you can't just there's no, we have choice. We have choices. And if God could just come down and be like, everybody do this, would that really be a paradise? I mean, you talk about artificial intelligence, and my immediate thought was, oh no, Skynet, what is they call it the singularity, when the AIs will all take over and stuff like that. So that doesn't seem like the best solution either. There are always unknown possibilities that can mess everything up. And I think that if there was anybody, omnipotent or not, that was forcing everybody to do something, that would be oppression, right? So it's just too complex to say, oh, well, God could just stop babies from getting sick. Well, some babies get sick, and they teach people very powerful lessons for the 2 years that they were in their lives. They were the only ones who could teach that lesson. And we believe that people are born and die all the time, and life is sacred. And I'm not trying to minimize children dying, because I think it's a tragedy, but you just can't know the people that are touched by the life of a sick child and what it makes them decide. And until enough people suffer and die, we don't change. That's the whole thing about the trickster gods. We have to sometimes run ourselves headlong into misery and suffering before we'll do anything about it. Now, I believe that suffering is a choice. You get to choose your challenges. I don't think that everybody has to suffer. When I was in boot camp, I was a witch in boot camp, and I was reading astrology, and I would pay attention to where the moon was every day, because it made a difference in how my commanders, the sergeants or whatever they were called, act. I don't remember, it was a long time ago. Commanding officer, that was the name of it. And so there were days where it would be challenging, and I would just wake up and decide that I was up for the challenge of the day, instead of going, oh man, this day's gonna kick my butt. I would be like, okay, I'm gonna be on point today. I can't phone this one in. I've got to be ready for stuff. So the challenges of the world teach us to make different choices, and they teach us to grow. And all of this, in my opinion, this whole world experiment is about us being spiritual beings incarnating on the planet and raising our awareness so that we can be the benevolent creatures that you would hope that we would be, and that we are all striving towards that. A lot of us have really different ideas about what that is. I had a Christian woman ask me one time, she was talking about Muslims and how they were all messing up the planet, and they were doing this and they were doing that. And I was arguing with her that everybody had their inherent goodness. Every religion is here because there's something to be learned from that religion. And even religions that you don't really understand, they all have their place because somebody's getting something out of it. And when people stop getting stuff out of it, the religion will go away. And she was like, well, who are we supposed to hate then? And I was like, oh man, we're not supposed to hate anybody. I thought the Christians knew we weren't supposed to hate people, but apparently they don't. And I think that Christ himself would not be teaching people to hate other people, but people teach people to hate other people. If you have these people and these people fighting each other, then you can make off with all the goods in the background. And getting all of the people that don't have to fight with each other is a good way to get them to not notice that you're stealing all the resources. And I really believe that right now what's happening in the world is that we're being tricked into fighting each other. And it might not be just right now. It might have been a long time, and I just didn't notice it because I wasn't old enough and wasn't paying attention. But there's just a few people with all the resources. And if we all decide to agree with each other, we're going to notice that those people are hoarding all the resources, and we're going to do something about it. So they've got to keep us fighting over gay marriage and abortion rights and, stupid things that are really important. I apologize for that. I thought I turned that off. Really important things, but completely aside from what we really need to be focusing on,
Yeah, for sure. There's a few questions from the audience, if you don't mind. One of them is from Calacia. He asks, how is suffering a choice? And I emulate the same question, because for me, suffering doesn't seem like a choice. It seems like something that's forced on us without our choice. And if there's a way to choose it, I think a lot of people would choose to not suffer as much as possible.
Well, it's all about relative truth, right? Like, what is true for you? If what you believe is that the devil has come in to kill, steal, and destroy your life, then you are kind of powerless in that, and you suffer because you are a victim. And if you feel like you have the power to overcome any challenge in your way, because God and Goddess will help you find the right way out of it, then you're a victor and you're not at the mercy of something that is trying to harm you. You have the ability to do something about it. So it's relative truth. What do you believe about your situation? I have seen people get cancer and be like, oh, poor me, this is so bad, I feel so bad. And they talk about how bad it is, and it is bad. But I've also seen people who got cancer and dealt with it with so much grace, I couldn't even fathom it. They didn't want to spend their last moments on earth lamenting their situation. So they were loving and happy, and they spent time with their kids, and they just handled it with a lot more grace. So it's really about what you think about your situation, how you handle it, right?
Sort of, but I think because Silesia isn't a Christian, and so from the perspective of many people, it seems like children suffer before they even have a worldview, before they have any beliefs, before they have anything to feel or think. They don't choose what they eat, and so it seems like suffering is just it's hard to imagine how you can have control over your suffering. It seems like the world forces you to suffer no matter what you do, and there's no way to really escape that. It's like out of your control.
Well, there's some religions that believe that the world is suffering. We don't believe that in paganism. We believe that the world is a paradise. And my children only cry when they needed something. And if I provided for that need, then they didn't cry anymore. It's all bright again, Dusty. Can you just pull forward a little bit? They didn't cry if they had their needs met. There you go. And so I think that we suffer when we don't have our needs met, and then if we know how to provide for our needs, then there's considerable less suffering. However, challenges are necessary in order for us to grow in the world. Like, challenges are just necessary. You're never going to have a life where you're happy and you don't have something to overcome. When you have a challenge and you overcome it, you feel successful. You feel proud of yourself. You've done a good thing. You've accomplished a goal. You've overcome. If people that have everything provided for them, people that don't struggle at all, super rich people born with a silver spoon in their mouth, they're not happy. Like, there's plenty of people who have had everything in the world and they kill themselves because it's just nothing makes them happy because they don't have to accomplish anything.
Gotcha. Next question is from Yves. I don't think that's how to pronounce it. I forget how to pronounce it. Oh, Ooh, I unselected it. I have to go find that again. We'll skip to the Meat Machine. Meat Machine asked, how does she know what is good and bad from the framework of her religion?
Well, good and bad are Christian terms. We don't use them. Good and bad is how you see whether this is good for me or good or bad for me is not. I mean that everybody has to decide that for themselves. The there's just the balance. Things happen. You decide if they're good for you or bad for you. What might be good for you might be really bad for me. There's a whole lot of people that think that the anti-abortion laws are the best thing that ever happened. I think that it's atrocious. So it's a matter of personal opinion and relative truth. Relative truth is a fundamental um, thought in a fundamental principle in our religion, and the relative truth means that your truth is based on your experiences, and nobody can live your life. Nobody can understand. They can't walk in your shoes. So they don't experience life the way you experience it. They can't have the same truth that you have.
So, for people who do believe there is an objective good and evil, you'd say that you disagree with that?
Well, I would believe that they believe it.
Gotcha. All right, I found the question again. It's from Eves, I believe is how to pronounce it. How can Wicca change the world for good?
Well, one of the things is we don't really proselytize. We believe that if the goddess called you here, then you're supposed to be here, and if she didn't, then you shouldn't. We don't try to get people to join our religion, but what we do is try to respect all life and utilize our resources wisely to where there's enough for everyone, and to be stewards of the earth, to take care of each other and the planet that we live on, and allow for everybody to have their own experience. We believe that everyone has a right to their own happiness and their own choices, and as long as your happiness isn't bumping up against my happiness, I really don't care what you're doing, right? That answers the question.
Yes, I was muted there for a second. All right, next question from Frank's. What are her thoughts on voodoo?
Oh, well, I think that voodoo is a very powerful religion, and I don't practice it. I don't know much about it. People think that because my last name is LaVeau, and then there's Marie LaVeau, that I might know something about voodoo, but I really don't. I think that it's a very powerful religion, and it's not as much like witchcraft as you would think.
Gotcha. KCA Randy, can you tell me what the next numbers on my power ticket should be? Like a lottery ticket.
I am no good at picking Powerballs. If I were good at picking the lottery, I would have all the money.
I would too. That would be a great superpower. Jib asks, why does she believe in the supernatural when science can explain her questions without assuming magic is real?
Well, I believe that science and magic work hand in hand. That the age of Aquarius is when science and magic learn to work together. So, there's a lot of things that science can't explain, and witchcraft has kind of sensed that it was there, and so they created words for it, and then science can prove it, and then they're like, oh, well, that was always there, such as disease. So, like, way back before we had microscopes, witches would say, oh, this person is possessed by an evil spirit, and now you can say, oh, well, this person has an infection. Well, if you are intuitive, you can tell that bacterial infections have a causal intelligence. Like, they all have one intelligence, and if you can remove the spirit of that intelligence from the body, you can kill the infection. Today we have antibiotics, right? But back in the day when we didn't, that's how they healed. So witchcraft and science just has different language for the same thing, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Jay Schneider asks, can you please tell me what the paranormal activity in my house means? Who, what, why, etc. Please enlighten me.
I charge big money for that. You'd have to fly me over there.
Awesome. Iceni asks, what is your favorite spell?
Oh man, my favorite spell. Well, so my favorite spell is my husband. Because anytime I need any extra magic, I go, Dusty, and then whatever I need happens. Like if I can't find something, I'll be like, Dusty, where's this? And before I can even finish my sentence, I find it, because our energy together like exponentially increases my power. I really don't do spells anymore. See, we consider spells writing with the fat pencil. You know, once you learn how to do spells, it's all about the mind. Sympathetic magic is about teaching you that if you really focus, you can make things happen. I've been doing it for so long. I just ordain my day to go a certain way. And for the most part, it does. I mean, I have challenges. We all do, right? But I don't really do spells so much anymore, unless, like, when there was the insurrection, I did a spell on TikTok where I was like, everybody put energy into Biden getting ordained. And so I lit a candle and I put it on my altar, and I got everybody that watched that TikTok putting energy into that. Happened. And I watched that was kind of when it stopped, when it was like just a few minutes after that on the news, everything started going the other direction. And now I'm sure that wasn't just my spell making that happen. Everybody that was watching that, like that, it was things going down from all directions. But that's when I do spells. It's more to get everybody else's energy involved.
Cool. Question from Black Bordeaux. Can ask her which god or goddesses could they solve an unknown math problem, like unknown empirical question. I think because that was something that Ramanujan, the mathematician Ramanujan, said the gods he believed in helped him solve math problems.
We're trying to get the light that's making it worse. There's no more shade, but the car will shade us. I don't know that the gods like math. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that one.
Gotcha. Casey A. Randy asked, what kind of a god would be a trickster? Why would you bother with that god?
Oh man, tricksters are fun. Well, Hermes is a trickster god, and he's like one of my favorites. When Lord Hermes is in the area, I am very like, oh my god, makes my heart go better better. But trickster gods make you learn things that you don't want to learn. And I am an eternal student. I am also a triple fixed sign. I am Leo, Taurus, Taurus. So I am one. Sometimes if I really have a conviction about something, it's difficult to get me to look at it in another way. And so I appreciate trickster gods, because sometimes they will trick you into learning things that you otherwise would not choose to learn. Now, tricking you just to take advantage of your vulnerability, that's not what they do. That's what people do. You know, lying to you to just take advantage of you. No, they will trick you to go to a certain place, making you think, such as January, I went on a tour around the United States. Well, it did not go the way I thought it was going to go at all. I thought it was completely different. When I got there, I was like, I have been tricked. But I had really important things that I had to learn, and I would not have chosen to go on tour in January without thinking that I was doing what I thought I was doing. I would not have made that choice. So it was good for me because I got what deity needed me to get out of it, and they weren't able to teach it to me in another way because I wasn't able to see it.
Gotcha. Question from Vlad the Stoner. What gods do Wiccan practitioners plead to if you believe in all kinds of gods?
So Wiccans, for the most part, believe in the triple goddess and the horned god. That is the basics. The triple goddess is the goddess with three faces, past, present, and future. Those, and then the horned god. People often think that the horned god is the devil because when Christians took over Europe, they decided to demonize the god of the pagans in order to overtake the people. I mean, that's a standard political ploy, is you demonize the previous religion to convert all the people to the new religion. But the horned god is the god of the hunt. It's all about hunting animals and animals that we eat from the forest that usually have horns. You know, cows have horns. So horns represent the male power. But we have like all kinds of deities that we pray to for different things, and different people associate with different deities. And basically, it is a path of you find the deities that talk to you. Deities will talk to you when you're praying. They'll come up and they'll talk to you, and then you're like, who is this? And sometimes you know right away, and sometimes you don't. Like the Great Mother, I prayed to the Great Mother since I was brand new baby witch. I always prayed to the Great Mother because that's the two I was called to pray to. And I didn't find out that that was Demeter until, oh man, a decade ago, maybe. I don't remember. It was, I was like, man, you would think I would have figured that out. But she was like, who do you think you've been praying to all this time? And I was like, the Great Mother. Oh, the Great Mother. That's you. You know, so humans don't always, we're not quick on the uptake. We don't always figure it out. But we pray to the gods that talk to us.
That leads into the next question from Chris G. When you make statements about these deities and what they do, how did you learn these things? How did you get to know that these things are true? Oh, she's frozen. Give it a minute. Last time she reconnected. How are you guys in the chat doing? Frozen Spell. Yes. It was a good movie. Too much singing, though. How did the universe form in her eyes? That's a good question. Not high enough for this yet. Should make it like a drinking game or something. I recently did an interview on Only Sky. It's not OnlyFans. It's a very similar name. Only Sky is like a secular journal started by Hemet Mehta. I need to post that too. I need to upload my interview from Only Sky. Who authored the Bible? Hey, how's it going?
My phone got hot.
Yes, that happens. I've had that happen a couple times.
Yeah, I tried really hard to fix this to where you didn't have any problems with the streaming, and it's been rough. I think if you just pull over on the side, that from this angle, it would be okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Like my channel's fine to have issues. We're not too strict about that. So, but I appreciate your consideration.
I appreciate you having patience with the technology.
So, a few more questions.
Okay.
Chris G asks, when she makes these statements about deities and what they do, how did you come to know these things? How did you learn about the deities?
I asked my teacher that when I was a brand new witch, and he told me the same thing I'm going to tell you. It's just years and years of working with them. One time I had somebody get really mad at me because of the deity that I was working with. And they were like, "You're not allowed to work with those deities." And I said, "Well, I tell you what, if you don't want me to work with those deities, tell them not to talk to me and I won't." So it's just a matter of who's talking to you.
Gotcha. Next question from Isani. Can you ask her that I want to start practicing black magic, and can she direct me to the best place to start learning?
I know one person that practices black magic, and her name is Jasmine Ambrosia. JASM. I think it's INE. Jasmine Ambrosia. You could look her up on Facebook, and she also has a YouTube channel. And that is the only practitioner I know that that I could refer anybody to. I don't practice black magic. I'm very much a for the good of all person.
Frank asks, how did the universe form in your eyes? How do you think the universe began?
Oh, we're doing creation myths at Hecate Sickle Festival this year. We do a festival every October. It's the 6th through the 9th. And we do one Easter weekend as well. We do the Eleusinian Mysteries on Easter weekend. And then the festival that we're doing at Hecate Sickle Festival is all about creation myth. And the way that we believe the universe was formed is that in the beginning there was the void of space, like just nothing, right? And the void, after much time, the void realized its existence. It realized that there was space. They're like, oh, there's space here. And then it realized that time was passing. And with that realization, a spark came, and that was the secondary, right? Like you've got a cell, and then it splits into two. So the spark of, oh, time is passing, and that spark was the other half of goddess. So the void is the womb of space, and that is the goddess. And then the spark of understanding, realization, intelligence of any kind is God, right? So goddess is receptive, God is projective. And so from those two experiencing each other, everything else in the universe was born.
Gotcha. And last question from Megavirus. Oh, this is a question for me. What argument for the supernatural gods do you find the most interesting or fun to argue against? Probably the moral argument, I think, because I'm a big proponent of good and evil. I like those. So to answer him, that would be it. So that's it for our questions. I really appreciate you coming on. It was a great conversation. Please, again, send me all of the stuff on how you got all the legal stuff, because I'm really interested in that. I definitely want to try to work on that for my side to start my church. So I'd really love to see all the paperwork behind that if you're willing to send it. Thanks again for coming on. I really appreciate it. Do you want to give any links or references where people can find out more about your work?
Belladonna LaVeau. I'm really easy to find. You can search me on on Google. There's all kinds of pages about me on Google. I have belladonnalaveau.com. And then if you want to know more about my church, it is atcwicca.com. atcwicca.com. WICCA. My husband's correcting me. It's .org. It's not .com. It's .org. atcwicca.org, because we're a church. And then from there, you'll be able to find things about our festivals, our schools, our youth program, all of the different churches around the world, things like that.
Awesome.
Thank you. It has been a pleasure talking to you. I was looking forward to this. I think your show is awesome. Some of your shows are I just giggle while I watch them. It's so good. Thank you for your service and for what you're doing. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I certainly will.
Absolutely. It was great talking to you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too, Tom. Bye-bye. Bye, listeners.
Bye-bye.